Welcome to Market Insights from Zero Deltas. In this episode, we take a look at the current AI investment landscape, what's driving the spend, and where and how things may play out in this exciting space. Please consider subscribing to the channel if you like this content, and do give the video a like for the algorithm. Wall Street is currently struggling to price the next phase of the AI build-out. For months, the narrative has been dominated by fear, but today we're going to look at why the market is getting the math on AI infrastructure completely wrong. The current fear is a massive disconnect between spending and revenue. You have hyperscalers like Microsoft, Amazon, and Alphabet, which are all taking on significant debt to escalate their capital expenditures. Yet, 75% of retail users are still sitting on free tiers. To a traditional analyst, this looks like a perceived revenue ceiling that can't justify the bill. This AI bubble narrative assumes the future is limited by human typing speeds. In this chatbot model, a user asks one question, and the system generates one answer. It's linear scaling. The result is low compute demand and a low willingness to pay. If this were the end state, the skeptics would be right. But here is the catch. We have just crossed the threshold, from chatbots to autonomous agents. Tools like Claude Cowork, OpenClaw, and Anti-Gravity operate in a containerized environment with direct control over your browser. They don't wait for you to ask the next question. They execute complex multi-step workflows while you're away from your desk. Let's look at a high-value example: automating the job of a senior equity analyst. This is a role that typically commands a $200,000 to $300,000 salary. Let's assume the workflow has three phases. Step 1 would be acquisition, which is navigating websites to scrape raw data. Step 2 would be valuation, writing code to calculate forward PE ratios and identify undervalued assets. And finally, Step 3 would be reporting, which is the formatting for a polished investment report or prospectus document. Here's how it would work. During the execution phase, the agent breaks a single prompt into a process chain. It requests control of the computer, then it writes its own Python scripts to parse data, and executes calculations without human intervention. Total execution time? Just 20 minutes. The output result is a comprehensive equity research report covering over 15 stocks. This would be complete with an identified undervalued buy list and full bull or bear cases. It generates calculated industry medians and 8-tab Excel spreadsheets that used to take days of manual labor. In addition, the analysis could be accompanied by videos such as these, which are generated through code easily explaining the benefits of a stock. When you compare the math, this is when things start to look a bit surreal. A senior analyst costs, say, $300,000 a year and takes 15 to 30 hours per report if all things work well. If this was the only job they did, this would limit them to about 10 or 20 stocks. Depending on the complexity, an autonomous agent costs roughly $2 per prompt, with costs dropping or increased brainpower for the same price. Assuming it finishes in 20 minutes and operates with 24/7 uptime, the analyst would become the bottleneck, as they would have to review and reiterate at similar speed. This is unlimited scale, in theory. Theory being the key word, as each industry is unique. Here it is, and it is a seismic shift for investors. The 1-to-1 ratio is dead. A single human instruction to analyze the market now triggers hundreds of background server requests, scrapers, code interpreters, and reasoning chains. We've moved from one prompt generating one answer to one prompt generating 1,000 actions. Is your organization able to take advantage of that scale, or are your people still using manual processes? Historically, compute was used to build models. Now, compute is needed to serve them, and people are needed who act as stewards, guardians, and custodians of this new AI landscape. We are seeing a massive shift toward inference dominance. So what is this inference dominance I am talking about? In simple terms, inference dominance represents a massive shift in how we use the world's computing power. Think of it like the difference between building a car and driving it. Historically, most AI computing power was used for training. This is the study phase, where a model like Gemini or ChatGPT is built. It is incredibly expensive and energy-intensive, but it is largely a one-time cost. Inference is the execution phase. It is the compute power required to serve up an answer every single time you hit enter. This parabolic growth in inference compute is what the market hasn't modeled correctly. This leads us to the next phase of work, which is the always-on workforce. Humans work 8 to 12 hours, but agents work 24 hours and 7 days a week. Hyperscalers aren't overspending. They are desperately trying to build capacity for a machine workforce that never goes offline. Is your operating model designed to function at this scale? What happens when the model breaks down at 1 a.m. in the morning? who is there to nudge it along? This is what is creating the issues in entry-level positions, where entry-level roles on Wall Street with $150,000 starting salaries used to be the bedrock of the industry. Those roles are now redundant. As I've said before, these roles are in for a rude awakening unless you are able to build the next level of workforce, which is able to manage the autonomous agents. Think of this workforce as managers in a factory working with robots and making sure that everything runs like clockwork. Who says office workers will not be working shift hours? You better think that through again. For investors, this requires thinking about the sector and rotations. Think about SaaS companies relying on seat-based pricing that now become vulnerable. If one agent does the work of 5 juniors, enterprise subscriptions will collapse and less seats are required. Similarly, BPO and outsourced services are now cheaper to run locally via agents. Will that force more competition and price cuts in the market? And does it trigger a race to the bottom? Only time will tell. This is not financial advice or advice to purchase any of the stocks. Given the way things are moving, it could be possible that the winners are in infrastructure and compute. These increased hunger for more compute and scale would favor the likes of Google and Amazon, with NVIDIA leading the pack in terms of GPUs. In an inference deficit world, this is where demand exceeds supply. This scenario favors the CapEx spenders, the semiconductor giants providing GPUs, and the energy and utility companies providing the power to keep these servers running. The final narrative flip is this: we are actually underbuilding. Fear of a bubble is based on yesterday's chatbot usage. The future is agentic, it is 24/7, and it is exponentially more compute-intensive. This isn't a trend, it's a seismic shift. What it means for jobs or the resultant workforce reskilling required is being underestimated or ignored. May you live in interesting times, as the old Chinese saying goes. Thank you for watching. If you found this useful, please consider subscribing. If you are interested in creating content like this for your investors, or onboarding your new coworkers and are looking to scale processes, please consider to reach out to Yuvan Pillay and following Zero Deltas for more trading intelligence. Thank you and wish you and your close ones all the best. Goodbye.